Punishment of the Rebels by Sandro Botticelli. The Punishment of the Rebels, also titled The Punishment of the Sons of Korah, The Punishment of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, or The Chastisement of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, is a monumental fresco by Sandro Botticelli, created in 1481 to 1482. It measures approximately 348.5 times 570 centimeters and is located on the south wall of the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican. Background history. Pope Sixtus IV commissioned the frescoes on the Sistine Chapel's side walls in 1481 as part of a political and religious reconciliation between Rome, the Papal States, and Florence. After tensions, including the 1478 Pazzi Conspiracy, Lorenzo de' Medici and the Pope sought to mend ties through cultural exchange. Botticelli, along with other leading Florentine artists like Domenico Ghirlandaio, Cosimo Rosselli, and Pietro Perugino, traveled to Rome in late 1480. They decorated the walls with parallel cycles from the lives of Moses, south wall, and Christ, north wall. This program emphasized the continuity between the Old and New Testaments and, crucially, the divine authority of the papacy as the successor to Mosaic law and Christ's teachings. Botticelli personally painted 3 major scenes with workshop assistants: the Trials of Moses, or Youth of Moses, this Punishment of the Rebels, and the Temptations of Christ on the opposite wall. Work began in spring 1481. His contract was renewed in February 1482, but he returned to Florence after his father's death. The frescoes were completed rapidly before Michelangelo's ceiling, 1508 to 1512, and Last Judgment. The overall chapel program was propaganda for papal supremacy amid 15th century challenges to church authority. Botticelli's fresco is often seen as the thematic key to the pre-Michelangelo decoration. The text, Conturbatio Moisi legis scripte latoris, is the official Latin inscription placed directly above Botticelli's fresco, The Punishment of the Rebels. English translation is the disturbance, or turmoil, challenge, threat of Moses, the bearer of the written law. Detailed explanation, composition, and narrative. The fresco uses continuous narrative, a common Renaissance technique where multiple moments from the same story appear in one unified space. It draws directly from the Bible, primarily Numbers 16, the rebellion of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram against Moses and Aaron during the Exodus. Botticelli divides the wide composition into 3 distinct episodes: read right to left, or as interconnected scenes around central figures. Right side, attempted stoning of Moses. Discontented Israelites, weary from the desert trials after leaving Egypt, rebel against Moses' leadership and threaten to stone him. Moses, an elderly man with a long white beard, in a yellow robe and olive green cloak, raises his hand in warning or horror. Joshua, in white sleeves, heroically steps in to protect him, holding back the crowd armed with stones. This episode highlights early dissent during the Exodus. Center: rebellion over priestly authority. The core conflict involves Korah, a Levite, Dathan, Abiram, and 250 followers challenging Moses and Aaron's divine leadership. They accuse them of self-aggrandizement and demand to perform priestly duties, offering incense. Moses and Aaron confront the rebels. Aaron, dressed as high priest in a blue robe and swinging a censer, stands solemnly. His rivals stagger and fall as divine fire consumes their offerings. Moses appears radiant with rays of light emanating from his head, symbolizing God's favor. Aaron wears the triple-ringed papal tiara, explicitly linking him to the Pope as his spiritual predecessor. Left side, divine punishment. The earth dramatically splits open, swallowing the ringleaders Korah, Dathan, and Abiram alive into a fiery abyss, as described in Numbers chapter 16, verses 31 to 33. Their innocent sons float safely on a cloud above, spared by God. This is the climactic moment of judgment. Background elements add classical grandeur and symbolism. A grand Roman triumphal arch, modeled on the Arch of Constantine in Rome, with added Renaissance and ruin-like details, dominates the center. Ships and a distant landscape, possibly evoking the Papal Fleet or the Holy Land, appear behind it. On the far left and right are Renaissance-style buildings, including a church-like structure with a pointed tower. A key inscription runs across the arch, a fictional replacement for the real arch of Constantine's text. Nemusibi asfamat honore misi vocatus adio tanquam Aaron. No man taketh this honor, the priesthood, unto himself, but he that is called of God, as was Aaron, paraphrasing Hebrews chapter 5, verse 4. This directly reinforces the theme of divinely appointed authority. Artistic and thematic analysis. Botticelli's style here blends Florentine elegance with Roman classicism. Figures show graceful, linear contours, dynamic gestures, and emotional expressiveness, typical of his early Renaissance work. Pre-birth of Venus. The composition is crowded yet balanced, using perspective, foreshortening, and overlapping figures to create depth despite the fresco scale. Colors are vibrant, restored in modern times, with rich robes, dramatic skies, and golden architectural accents. Thematic depth. The fresco is not just biblical illustration, but pointed political allegory. It warns that rebellion against God's chosen leaders, Moses, Aaron equals Pope, invites divine retribution. In the context of Sixtus IV's papacy, it countered contemporary critiques of papal power. Aaron's papal tiara makes the message explicit. The Pope's authority is God-given, like Aaron's priesthood. The parallel to the opposite wall's Temptations of Christ, also by Botticelli, underscores the chapel's program. Old Testament law, Moses, prefigures New Testament grace, Christ, with the papacy as the bridge. Legacy and significance. This is one of Botticelli's most ambitious and politically charged works. It showcases his mastery of multi-scene storytelling and remains a highlight of the Sistine Chapel's pre-Michelangelo decoration. Its message of authority and divine order resonated in an era of political intrigue and church reform debates. In person, or in high-resolution views, the fresco rewards close-looking, expressive faces, intricate details in clothing and architecture, and the dramatic contrast between order, Moses, Aaron, and chaos, the rebels. It powerfully encapsulates Renaissance ideals of art serving both beauty and ideology.